back to my channel. So for today's video I'm going to be attempting to make an Oreo cheesecake, or a copycat of the Cheesecake Factory's Oreo cheesecake, because for tomorrow's mukbang, which should already be up, I am going to be doing a 2,000 subscriber celebration, and so I'm going to be eating all of my favorite foods, and the Cheesecake Factory's Oreo cheesecake is my favorite, but I've really been enjoying making stuff for my mukbangs, and so I wanted to just make something instead of just buying it from the Cheesecake Factory. So I've consulted a couple recipes online, and I've kind of created like one master recipe. Hopefully, I haven't made it yet, so let's hope that it turns out good, but I think I've created a master recipe, and hopefully I am able to successfully recreate this cheesecake. So I already have all my ingredients set out. I've measured out everything already. The recipes that I used, or I based off, were all for 9-inch springform pans, but I only have I have a 9-inch, but I'm going to be eating other stuff tomorrow too, and so I wanted to use a 6-inch. So I did some math that I hope was correct, and I think that cutting everything in half should be about right for the recipe. So if you are using a 9-inch pan, just double everything I'm doing, and then you should be fine. So without further ado, let us get into this freaking recipe, and hopefully it turns out good. Cross your fingers for me. So the first thing you're gonna need is Oreo cookies that are divided and then the cream part is taken out. So everything else is gonna be in half based off volume for the cheesecake, but the bottom crust part, one's 6 inches and then one's 9 inches. So I took, this is like 2/3 of the amount of the 9-inch. So the 9-inch calls for 24 Oreo cookies, and this is only 16 right here. So yes, if you are doing 9-inch, use 24, but you just want to put them in a plastic baggie like this, and basically you're just going to like mash these like that until they turn into a really fine consistency. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then I'll show you guys the consistency when it's done. So the consistency of the crumbs should be like this. And then the next thing you're gonna wanna do is, this is 3 tablespoons of butter. And whenever I've made crusts in the past, I've always had to add more butter, so I might add more than this, but you basically wanna melt this in a non-stick pan. So I'm just gonna put it in there and then turn on my stove to medium heat and just wait for that to melt. And while I'm waiting for that to melt, I'm going to take my springform pan, which I've already wrapped in tin foil, because I'm going to use a water bath when I am cooking this, which I will show you guys later. But to prepare to put the crust in, I'm going to spray this with some cooking spray. And then I'm just going to wipe it around to make sure that it is all over the edges. So once your butter is all melted, I have put the Oreo crumbs in a bowl, and I'm just gonna add the butter, which, like I said, we might add more, I don't know, and just stir it all up. So the 3 tablespoons actually seems like a good amount to me, so I don't know if that's picking up on the camera because it's black, but it should be like sticking together when you pat it down. That's how I can tell. So now it is time to put it in your pan. So I just spoon it onto the bottom, maybe about half of it. And then you just want to press it into the bottom of the pan. And I'm just going to bring it up slightly, maybe like 1/2 inch up the sides as well. Okay, so I tried to move the camera a little bit more into the light so you guys could see. I'm sorry for the lighting. I film these videos at night, or I cook at night, so that's why there's no daylight, but I kind of just brought the crust up a little bit up the sides, not too much, because I am going to be decorating it too, but you can also see the crust is just packed in there. So now we are ready to make the inside part. So first thing you're going to do is, well, first off, all my ingredients have been sitting out, so they are all at room temperature, which I read is supposedly supposed to help with cracking when you're cooking the cheesecake. So this is 12 ounces of cream cheese. So, oh, you just want to put that in a mixing bowl. And then you're just going to beat it with some beaters on, you don't want to do it on high speed, you want to do it on just medium speed, because if you do it on high speed, the ingredients will just become too bubbly and it will crack when it's cooking. So you just want to beat the cream cheese until it gets light and fluffy. So once you have beat the cream cheese and it looks light and fluffy, then you are going to add in your eggs, and I have been also keeping these eggs out, and it called for 3 eggs, so I literally just split one in half as best as I could. And then you also just want to put in the eggs one at a time, so I'll just put in 1 egg first, beat it on medium speed, and then incorporate the other one. For some reason you don't want to do them at the same time, so just put 1 in like that, and then I'll just take my mixers again and mix it. So then once you have mixed in both of your eggs one at a time, it looks something like this. And then the recipe also calls for 1 can of condensed milk, or sweetened condensed milk, so I just have half of a can right here. So I'm just going to add that in and mix at the same time. And then last but not least, the recipe also calls for 2 teaspoons of vanilla, so I just cut it in half, and I have 1 teaspoon right here. So this is what it looks like when it's all mixed together. So then you take your springform pan with the Oreos in it and pour in some batter. So a lot of the recipes called for crushing the Oreos up and putting it in the batter, but I am going to just literally, like the Cheesecake Factory does, just place the Oreos inside on top, like so, and then just pour the rest of the batter on top. And they're kind of floating up, so I'm just gonna try to like sink them down in there so they are like baked in there and they're not, because I don't want them showing on the top because I want to decorate the top. So yeah, this is what it looks like when it is all placed in there. And then I have this pan right here that's filled with water, and I wrapped this springform pan with tin foil like 3 or 4 times just to make sure that the water wouldn't seep in. So I really hope it doesn't. But I'm just gonna place the pan inside the other pan with the water and then bake it. And so the recipe calls to bake it at 300 degrees for 45 minutes. I'm gonna do 30 and then check on it just because I want to make sure that it doesn't overcook because it is smaller. And the way I guess that you can tell when cheesecake is done is that the inside will be jiggly, but then the rest will be firm, like on the outside. So I'm just gonna keep an eye out for that, and I will just check back after 30 minutes when the cheesecake is hopefully done. And P.S. I don't even have a real oven. That's like a supposedly like heavy duty toaster oven, so. So then while the cheesecake is cooking, I'm going to make some, this isn't like, you don't have to do this, I'm just doing this because I felt like kind of being extra, but I'm gonna make some cream cheese whipped cream frosting. So this is a 3/4 cup of heavy whipping cream, and all the ingredients that I have are cold. So for the cheesecake they were room temperature, but for the frosting or whatever they are all cold. And then I even had these in the freezer, the beaters, so that they are cold as well. So it says in a small bowl, which I don't know if it's gonna like fly everywhere, but basically it says to whip this until it gets like the stiff peaks that you get from like meringue and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna beat it until that happens, or hopefully it happens. So I just beat it on high for maybe like 3 minutes or so, and this is what it should look like. I didn't add anything to it, so this is me just beating it with a beater. Nothing should come out, so that's how you know that it has formed the stiff peaks. So then I'm just gonna set this aside, and I'm going to, in a larger bowl, and you might honestly want to get a larger bowl for mixing that because it did kind of go everywhere. But then in my other big bowl, I'm going to combine 1/2 cup of sugar with 4 ounces of cream cheese, and I'm just gonna mix them together just until combined. So then after it's all combined in the big bowl, then I'm also going to add just a little bit of salt, like a really tiny amount, maybe like that much, and then a really tiny bit of vanilla too. And mix it up again. So now I have it all mixed up, and I'm going to take the whipped cream that I set aside, and I'm going to take a spoon and put that in the bigger bowl. And I'm literally just gonna stir it all together. I'm not gonna use the beaters. I'm just gonna fold it all together. So this is what it looks like at the end, and I'm just gonna put it back in another bowl and then just leave it in the fridge overnight because I have to let the cheesecake cool before I decorate it. So I'm just gonna leave it in the fridge overnight, and then I will just come back when the cheesecake is done cooking. Okay, so it looks like the cheesecake is done cooking. And that only took like, I don't even know, I think 25 minutes, so it didn't even take the full 30. But now I'm just going to prop the oven door slightly open, because if you take it out right away, it's gonna be too shocking for the cheesecake, too shocking, and it will crack. So I'm just gonna let it cool in there with the oven door cracked, and probably let it cool in there for like 45 minutes to an hour, and then after that I'm gonna put it in the fridge overnight. Okay, so it is the next morning, and this has been chilling in the fridge overnight. So this is what it looks like now. And now I'm gonna try to take this out of the pan, and the way I read to do it online is take a hot knife. So I've just been running this under really hot water, and just take the knife and run it along the edges, and then hopefully you'll be able to take it out without it breaking or anything like that. Okay, so I have ran a knife around the edges as best I could without messing up any of the sides. So let's just hope that this works. Okay, that seems to have worked. I don't want to pick it up because I don't want to mess it up, but this is what it looks like on the outside, and this is what it looks like on the top. So now we are going to attempt to decorate it, and I'm gonna get the tray that I'm going to eat the cheesecake on, just because I don't want to have to transfer it after I decorate it, so I'll be back. So my original plan was to frost the sides of the cake, but I like how it turned out so much without, like, I just think it looks cool with the crust and stuff up the sides. I don't know if I want to do that. So what I think I might do is frost the top and decorate the top instead of the sides. So I'm just taking some of the frosting that we made last night and I'm just putting it on top of the cheesecake, and I'm just going to kind of mix it around. So now I have the top all frosted, and I already made this little mix last night off camera, but it's basically just mini, or it literally is just mini chocolate chips and then mashed up Oreo cookies, and I kept the cream in them. Like when I made the crust, I took out the cream, but when I made this little mixture, I kept the cream in the Oreos. So I'm just gonna take little bits and just like push it in. So once I have all the stuff on top of the cheesecake, now I'm going to add some frosting to the outside too. So you just take, I got these at the grocery store. You can also use a Ziploc bag, but it's just like a little frosting bag, I think is what it's called. And then you can take any tip, but I want to use this shape. And so you just push it into the bag as far as it'll go. And then you just want to pay attention to where this part is, like where the, I guess, design stops. And then just take it out a little bit and cut it at that point. And then push your thing back through. So now you're ready to put the frosting in it. So hopefully this turns out pretty. That actually turned out pretty good. That is what it looks like at the end. Yay! So that is all done now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me making the cheesecake. Yeah, I think that's it for what I have to explain for it. I'm happy that it turned out pretty good. If you guys want to see more of these videos, I can make more. It was pretty highly requested, and I just didn't do it because, for the longest time, because it seemed kind of stressful to cook and record at the same time, but it wasn't that bad. So if you want to see more, let me know, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.